You're sitting in your living room in Houston, San Antonio, or Dallas when the lights flicker once, twice, then die. Your phone buzzes with an emergency alert. Rolling blackouts expected, duration unknown. Outside, the thermometer reads 9 degrees, or maybe it's 107 in the shade. Your neighbor knocks frantically because her husband's oxygen concentrator just went silent. This isn't a drill, and it's not the first time. February 2021 proved that the Texas grid can collapse, killing 246 people in 5 days, leaving 4.5 million homes in frozen darkness, and causing $195 billion in damages. The infrastructure that failed then hasn't been fundamentally fixed, and every extreme weather event since has pushed ERCOT to the breaking edge. If you think it won't happen again, you're betting your family's lives on hope instead of preparation. Before you click away, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to share could be the difference between surviving and becoming another statistic when the power dies and nobody's coming to save you. The Texas grid operates on an island. Unlike the rest of the continental United States, ERCOT deliberately isolates itself from the eastern and western interconnections to avoid federal regulation. That independence becomes a death sentence during crisis because there's no backup, no neighboring states flooding the zone with emergency power. When a polar vortex or heat dome strikes, Texas stands alone. During the 2021 freeze, natural gas wells froze, pipelines iced over, wind turbines stopped, and even coal and nuclear plants went offline because they weren't winterized. The people who died weren't just caught off guard, they made fatal mistakes in the first 6 hours that compounded into tragedy. A family in Harris County ran a generator in their garage for heat and died from carbon monoxide poisoning. An elderly man in Abilene tried to warm his home with a charcoal grill indoors and never woke up. These weren't stupid people. They were desperate people making decisions without the right information. You need to know the lethal mistakes before the crisis hits, not while you're watching your breath fog in your own bedroom. The moment the power goes out, your first priority isn't food. It's not even water initially, it's temperature regulation. Hypothermia kills in hours, heat stroke even faster. Texas homes are engineered for air conditioning, not insulation. Your walls are thin, your attic ventilation is designed to shed heat, and your windows leak air like sieves. When the grid dies in winter, your home becomes a freezer. When it fails in summer, it becomes an oven. You have maybe 6 hours before the inside temperature matches the outside. In that window, you need to execute a shelter-in-place strategy that most Texans don't even know exists. Pick one room, the smallest room with the fewest windows, ideally an interior bathroom or closet. Move your family, your supplies, your blankets, everything into that single space. Use towels, blankets, even garbage bags stuffed with crumpled newspaper to seal gaps under doors. Cover windows with aluminum foil and blankets to create a thermal barrier. In winter, body heat from multiple people in a small insulated space can maintain survivable temperatures. In summer, block all sunlight, create cross-ventilation if possible, dampen cotton sheets and hang them in front of any airflow. This isn't comfortable, but comfort isn't the goal. Survival is. Water becomes your second critical mission in those first 6 hours. When the power dies, water treatment plants start failing. Pumps stop working. Pressure drops. Within 24 hours, your tap might run dry or deliver contaminated water. During the 2021 crisis, 14.9 million Texans were under boil water notices, but half of them had no power to boil anything. You need to secure water immediately. Fill every container in your home, bathtubs, sinks, pots, buckets, even plastic storage bins. That bathtub water isn't for drinking. It's for flushing toilets and washing. Your drinking water comes from stored gallons, at least 1 gallon per person per day, for 72 hours minimum. If you don't have stored water, fill clean bottles and containers first, then the bathtub. Do not assume the water will keep running. Do not assume you can boil it if you have no heat source. In winter, let one faucet drip slightly to prevent pipes from freezing and bursting, which creates a secondary catastrophe when power returns and your walls flood. Wrap exposed pipes with towels or foam if you have time. A burst pipe can destroy your home and leave you without water when the crisis ends. Now let's talk about the deadly mistakes that killed people last time and will kill more next time. Generators must be outside, at least 20 feet from any window or door. with the exhaust facing away from your house. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, and lethal. It killed entire families in 2021 who thought cracking a window would be enough ventilation. It's not. If you don't have a generator, do not improvise indoor heating with charcoal, propane camping stoves, or gas ovens. These produce carbon monoxide. If you're running a generator, you must have a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector inside your shelter room. Test it now, not during the blackout. Another fatal mistake is leaving all faucets completely off during a freeze. At least one faucet needs to drip to keep water moving through pipes. People who shut everything off came home to burst pipes and thousands in damage. If you're using candles for light, keep them away from blankets, curtains, and anything flammable. House fires during blackouts are common because people get careless with open flames. Your third deadly mistake is ignoring early signs of hypothermia or heat stroke. Confusion, slurred speech, shivering that suddenly stops, these are medical emergencies. In a grid-down scenario, EMS is overwhelmed or unavailable. Know the symptoms, act immediately, and understand that vulnerable people, infants, elderly, diabetics, people on medications, they go downhill faster. Food management in a 72-hour blackout requires strategy, not panic. Your refrigerator stays cold for about 4 hours if you don't open it. Your freezer can hold temperature for 48 hours if it's full and you keep it sealed. The mistake people make is opening and closing the doors to check on things. Don't. Use a cooler packed with ice or frozen items from the freezer to create a secondary cold storage that you can access without opening the main units. Eat refrigerated perishables first within the first 24 hours, then move to freezer items, then finally to your non-perishable emergency supplies. Your emergency food should require zero cooking if possible. Peanut butter, canned tuna, crackers, protein bars, dried fruit, nuts, anything calorie-dense that needs no preparation. If you have a way to cook, a camping stove with propane canisters used outdoors, that expands your options. But assume you might have no cooking capability. A manual can opener is non-negotiable. Electric openers are worthless when the power's dead. Adults can survive 72 hours on 1,200 to 1,500 calories per day if they're not exerting heavily. Ration intelligently. Don't gorge the first day and starve the third. Let's address heating and cooling methods that won't kill you. For winter, your best tools are insulation and layering. Wear multiple thin layers, not one thick layer. Trap air between clothing. Cover your head. You lose massive heat through your skull. Use sleeping bags rated for 0 degrees or lower. If you don't have those, layer blankets and get multiple people into the same sleeping area for shared body heat. Space blankets, those cheap Mylar sheets, actually work when used correctly. Wrap them around you inside a sleeping bag or under blankets to reflect body heat back. Thermal underwear, wool socks, gloves, beanies, these aren't luxuries. They're survival gear in a Texas winter blackout. For summer, your goal is evaporative cooling. Dampen a cotton sheet and drape it over yourself with a battery-powered fan pointing at you. The evaporation pulls heat away from your body. Drink water constantly to replace what you're sweating. Stay in the coolest part of the house, usually the lowest floor or an interior room. Remove unnecessary clothing, wear light colors, and avoid any physical exertion during the hottest parts of the day. Heat stroke symptoms include confusion, rapid pulse, hot dry skin, and loss of consciousness. If someone stops sweating in extreme heat, that's a medical emergency. Cool them immediately with wet cloths, fanning, and small sips of water. Communication and information become critical when the grid is down. Your cell phone will work until the towers run out of backup battery, usually 4 to 12 hours. After that, your smartphone is a brick. Charge every device fully the moment you get a blackout warning. Use power banks and have them pre-charged. A hand crank emergency radio or a solar-powered radio keeps you connected to emergency broadcasts when everything else fails. No AA weather radio channels provide updates during disasters. Your car can charge devices, but only run it outdoors and only for short periods to conserve fuel. Do not sit in your car in the garage with it running for heat. Carbon monoxide, again. Gas stations can't pump fuel without electricity, so if your tank is near empty when the blackout hits, you're stuck. Keep your vehicle above half a tank during winter and summer months in Texas. If you need to reach family or neighbors, go in person. Don't assume texts or calls will go through. Have a physical list of important contacts and addresses, not just stored in your phone. Sanitation becomes a nightmare after 24 hours without power. Toilets stop flushing when water pressure drops. If you filled the bathtub, you can manually flush by pouring a bucket of water directly into the toilet bowl, not the tank. 1 gallon per flush. If you have no water, you need a waste management plan. A 5-gallon bucket with a trash bag liner and kitty litter or sawdust becomes an emergency toilet. It's not pleasant, but it's functional. Bag and seal waste daily. Store it outside, away from your living area. Hand hygiene is critical because disease spreads fast in unsanitary conditions. Use hand sanitizer, baby wipes, or wash with stored water and soap. Garbage pickup stops during major disasters. Store trash outside in sealed bags away from your shelter. Rodents and pests are attracted to waste, and you don't want them near your home during a crisis. Medical preparedness is where most people fail catastrophically. If someone in your household depends on electrically powered medical equipment, oxygen concentrators, CPAP machines, refrigerated insulin, you need backup plans yesterday. Portable battery packs for medical devices exist. Buy them now. Contact your power company and register as a critical needs customer. They sometimes prioritize restoration for medical necessity. Keep a 72-hour supply of all medications in your emergency kit and rotate them regularly so they don't expire. First aid supplies should include trauma items, not just Band-Aids. Gauze, medical tape, antiseptic, pain relievers, anti-diarrheal medication, antibiotic ointment, and any prescription meds your family needs. Injuries during blackouts are common because people are working in the dark, using candles, improvising solutions. A deep cut or burn without access to emergency care can become life-threatening if infection sets in. Community resilience might be the most underestimated survival factor. When the grid collapsed in 2021, neighbors saved neighbors. People with fireplaces sheltered those without heat. Families pooled resources and shared generators. But there were also reports of looting, violence, and people hoarding. Your survival odds improve dramatically if you know your neighbors before disaster strikes. Identify who has medical needs, who has skills like medical training or mechanical knowledge, who has resources like generators or large food stocks. Create informal mutual aid agreements. If you have a generator, maybe your neighbor has a full freezer you can both use. If they have medical training, maybe you have extra blankets. This isn't about charity, it's strategic survival. Lone individuals die in prolonged crises. Communities survive. But you can't build that trust when the power's already out and everyone's desperate. Financial preparation is something nobody talks about, but everyone learns the hard way. ATMs don't work without power. Credit card systems go offline. Banks close. During the 2021 blackout, people couldn't buy supplies even if stores were open because the payment systems were down. Keep cash on hand, small bills, at least $500 in your emergency kit. Gas stations that have backup generators can't process cards but might take cash. The same goes for any supplies or services during the crisis. Water damage from burst pipes, food spoilage, hotel costs if you evacuate. These expenses hit immediately. Document everything with photos for insurance claims, but understand that reimbursement takes months or years. The financial devastation of a grid collapse often outlasts the blackout itself. Let's talk about the psychological component, because panic kills as surely as hypothermia. When the power dies and you don't know when it's coming back, fear becomes your enemy. Children feel that fear, amplified. Pets sense the stress and behave unpredictably. You need to project calm authority even if you're terrified inside. Explain the situation honestly, but without catastrophizing. Create structure and routine even in crisis. Meal times, sleep schedules, activities to pass the time. Board games, books, storytelling, anything that keeps minds occupied and prevents the spiral into despair. Boredom and fear together create irrational decisions. Keep people busy and informed. Limit exposure to rumors and social media panic if you have device battery left. Stick to official emergency channels for information. The mental endurance to survive 72 hours in uncomfortable, frightening conditions is as important as the physical supplies. Every one of these strategies assumes you're staying home. But what if you need to evacuate? Frozen roads during a winter storm are deadly. Heat exhaustion during a summer evacuation can kill you before you reach safety. If authorities issue evacuation orders, follow them, but do so before the crisis peaks. Waiting until the last moment puts you in traffic jams with no fuel, no air conditioning or heat, and surrounded by thousands of panicked people. Your vehicle emergency kit should include blankets, water, non-perishable food, flashlight, first aid, phone chargers, and cash. Know your evacuation routes before you need them. Identify where you'd go: a friend's house out of state, a hotel in an unaffected area, a designated emergency shelter. Have that plan written down and discussed with your family. If you wait until the blackout starts to figure out evacuation, you've already lost. Here's the reality that nobody wants to admit. The Texas grid is going to fail again. It might be next winter, next summer, or 5 years from now, but the structural vulnerabilities remain. Demand keeps growing, infrastructure keeps aging, and extreme weather events keep intensifying. ERCOT has made improvements since 2021. Winterization requirements, battery storage projects, but the fundamental problem persists. Texas chose independence and deregulation, and the cost of that choice is measured in lives every time the system breaks. You can't fix the grid yourself. You can't force politicians and utility companies to make different decisions. What you can control is your own preparedness. Every single death in a grid collapse is preventable with the right knowledge and supplies. The families that survived 2021 in relative safety weren't lucky. They were prepared. They had water stored. They had heating strategies. They made smart decisions in the first 6 hours instead of fatal ones. So here's your action plan right now. Today, not next week. Build your 72-hour kit with the supplies I've outlined: water, food, heating or cooling gear depending on the season, first aid, communication tools, sanitation supplies. Store it somewhere accessible, not buried in a garage where you can't find it in the dark. Test your equipment. Make sure that hand crank radio actually works. Verify that your propane heater functions and you have spare canisters. Check expiration dates on food and medications. Do a practice run where you shut off your power for 4 hours and see what problems emerge. You'll discover gaps in your plan during practice that would be catastrophic during a real blackout. Talk to your family about roles and responsibilities. Who's in charge of grabbing the emergency kit? Who checks on the neighbors? Who monitors the radio for updates? Rehearse this until it's automatic. Understand the warning signs that a grid failure is imminent. Weather forecasts predicting extreme cold or heat a week out. Those are your early alerts. ERCOT conservation notices asking people to reduce usage. That means the system is already strained. When you see those warnings, take action immediately. Top off your gas tank. Charge all devices. Fill water containers. Move supplies into your shelter room. Buy any last-minute items you're missing. The people who wait until the crisis starts find empty store shelves and long lines. The prepared move before the crowd panics. That advance notice is your tactical advantage. Use it. And if you want to go deeper into specific scenarios, detailed supply lists, and documented case studies from past Texas grid failures, you'll find additional guides and information in the pinned comment below. Those resources can take your preparedness to the next level when you're ready. But the fundamentals I've covered here will keep you alive through 72 hours of darkness and cold or unbearable heat. You now know more than 90% of your neighbors about surviving a grid collapse. That knowledge is worthless if you don't act on it. Don't let normalcy bias convince you it won't happen to you. 246 people thought the same thing in February 2021, and they didn't survive to learn the lesson. You have the information now, and that makes you responsible for your family's survival. Subscribe to this channel and share this video with everyone in Texas who needs to hear this before the next crisis hits. Comment below with your own experiences or questions about grid-down survival. The community we build here could save lives when the power dies and the cold or heat closes in. Don't wait until you're sitting in the dark wishing you'd prepared. Do it now, while the lights are still on.